In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a newer tequila to come out. It's Cambio Tequila, right here on the Tequila Hombre. Coming up next. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Tequila Hombre, where today we're going to be taking a look at a newer tequila brand to come out. It's called Cambio. Now, these bottles were sent to me by the brand for an unbiased, honest review. They sent me the Blanco and the Reposado, which are the only two expressions they have out right now. Now, a little backstory on this brand is it's owned by a culinary trained chef. And they really kind of look to do stuff differently, which I love to see in a good tequila brand. I'd love to see them creating flavor experiences and stuff with it. And it seems like with the processes, they did that. So we'll take a look at the review and during the tasting portion and see what they did, see what we get. But the processes on it seem pretty interesting. So let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about how this tequila is made. All right, so Cambio comes from NOM 1605, which the name of the distillery is Inulina y Miel de Agave, and it's located in the southern part of Los Altos in Jalisco. I have not been to this distillery yet, but I believe that another brand that I was talking to, a young lady owns the brand, but I believe it comes out of that same distillery, and she gave me an invitation to come visit and see their distillery, which I'm hoping to do, and if I do, I will record a tour for you guys, and so you guys can see what they do at this particular operation. But they use cooked agave from this. The agave is harvested in the highlands of Jalisco, so it is highlands agave. They cook the agave using a brick horno, and then after the agave are done being cooked, they then use it to ona to crush the fibers, to extract all the beautiful sugars from the fibers. After they're done doing that, they then ferment in wooden tanks. After fermentation's complete, they then twice distill using a copper stainless hybrid still, which we're seeing more of these pop up now and then. For example, El Viejito uses them. They have a stainless steel bottom with a copper top, and it kind of limits the amount of copper exposure because copper can lend to a metallic taste in tequila. So they do that sometimes because you get more of a pure agave taste from stainless, where copper can lend a little metallic flavor notes to a tequila and stuff. So and then it is distilled at proof, which they're one of the few distilleries that do that. They don't dilute these down, and it's at 46% alcohol by volume. Now, every bottle is also rested in barrels before it is sent out. So even the Blanco's rested. So in order for a Blanco to still be called a Blanco, it has to be rested for less than 2 weeks. And I believe they use wine barrels for the resting on this. So it should add interesting flavor notes and stuff to it. Now, one of the things that they talk about too with this particular brand is during the fermentation, they use lower temperatures. And one of the things I'm a big advocate of when it comes to fermentation, and if you guys follow me on the Hombre Cave channel, you can see a lot of the work that I've been doing recently where I've been making wine here at the house. I'm a national champion home brewer as well. I have a background in studying a lot in fermentation, and temperature control really does help with yeast, not taxing the yeast too hot when it gets too hot, and not, working it too hard when it's too cold. But if you get right within a yeast's perfect temperature range, you can get some interesting flavor profiles. And also too, the yeast that you select has an influence on the flavor as well. There's some distilleries that will let the wild yeast do it. I'm not a big fan of that because you don't know what's going to happen when you let wild yeast just do the distillation or do the fermentation. The same with like wine. A lot of times with wine, there's actually yeast on the grapes, and so you can actually just crush the grapes and let them go, and some wild yeast that's on the grapes will do the fermentation. But we prefer to pitch a yeast where we know we can control what kind of flavors are going to be coming from it. And so that's what they did. They selected a wine yeast for this, and they fermented it at a cooler temperature. So I like the idea. I like to see how they're doing the temperature control on the fermentation, but it could really lend to being some interesting flavor profiles that are different than what we're used to seeing in tequila. Now, a lot of times too, we'll see people, other reviewers talk about stuff, and they'll grade things down because it's different, but I embrace different. I like different. I think that when all tequila tastes the same, it makes it boring. So I love it when people experiment and provides different flavor profiles, as long as it's not off-putting. So why don't we check out and see what they've done with this? So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the tasting portion and see what these tequilas are all about. All right, so first we're going to open up the Blanco. I love these caps. These are different. So the caps actually have the cork in, artificial cork inside of them. Which gives you an extra good seal on them. All right, so since this is distilled at proof, that means there's no water added. It's not diluted, so it should have some nice viscosity to it. So it should have some nice oily from what they drew out of the still, but we'll see. And then also resting in barrels will add some more viscousness to it. So let's see what it looks like in the glass. So looking at this in the glass, it coats the glass beautifully. Look at the legs starting to form on the top. It's got a nice viscous mouthfeel to it. You can tell. See that? Look at that. That looks beautiful. I'm already starting to salivate because we taste with our eyes, our nose, and our mouth as usual, right? So this is already starting to look good. Looking at the tequila itself, it is crystal clear and it has a slight, very light straw color to it. You can tell it picked up some stuff from the barrels. All right, so on the nose, nice, rich, cooked agave nose coming from it. Has a nice fruitiness to it, picking up citrus. Actually picking up a little bit of wine notes too, some little grapiness coming from it. A little vanilla and some caramel notes coming through as well. It smells really nice. It smells like a really nice Blanco that's been rested in wood. All right, so this is my first sip of alcohol for the day. First sip of tequila. So at 46%, we're going to have to prep my mouth for 46% alcohol. So bear with me for a second. All right, we're good to go. Salud. Coats the mouth beautifully. Nice sweet cinnamon and baking spice note coming in from the beginning. Little bit of bitterness coming through. Like black licorice, like, you know, anise, star anise, star anise, however you pronounce it. Slight vanilla note to it. Really nice sweet cinnamon and baking spices, some vanilla. Little hint of caramel, black licorice, star anise, note coming through. It's got a lot of the bitterness in it. It's got some heat to it. That cloying bitterness kind of just rides through the palate. I think if they could find a way to get rid of this heavy bitterness, this would be a really nice tequila, but this bitterness for me is off-putting. So if you're somebody that embraces black licorice and likes that like fennel star anise kind of flavor profile, you'd love this. For me, it's a little over the top on the bitterness. So it's not something I would drink. So just because of the bitterness, it's a little off-putting for me. So the nice thing is though, that type of stuff can age out on a repo. So let's get to the repo tasting and see what that one's all about. All right, so we're on to the repo, and I don't have any information on how this particular is aged, but they said they use bunch of different barrels and blend. So with the repo though, it's got to be anywhere from 2 weeks to up to a year. Once it hits a year, it becomes an añejo. So 2 weeks to a year in barrels. So this is also 46%. So let's look at it in the glass. Yeah, it coats the glass beautifully. Look at the legs and tears starting to break on it right there. Look at that. Yeah. It's kind of a nice viscous mouthfeel to it. Looking at the tequila itself, it is a nice dark golden color. Looks beautiful. On the nose. Definitely picking up that sweet cinnamon and baking spices from the nice Highlands cooked agave. Nice fruitiness to it, like citrus, vanilla, caramel, dried fruit. It smells like a really nice repo. It really does. All right, so let's see what we get on the flavor profile. Salute. Coats the mouth beautifully. Nice cinnamon and baking spices up front. No, the bitterness is still there. Getting that strong anise bitterness mixed with some caramel notes. A little bit of grapiness in there. Like almost like a sweet tart fruit, like grape, you know. But that bitterness just kind of destroys the whole thing. This could be lovely if they could get rid of the bitterness. And I could actually show them how to do it. I mean, it's that anise bitterness for me, you know, it's like some people love it. It's like with the black good and plenties, you know, some people love them. Some people hate them. I tend to be towards the ones that don't like it and try to avoid black licorice. I always, you know, when I get those boxes of assorted licorice colors, I always pick the black ones out and throw them away because I just really don't like that flavor. That flavor is prevalent in the Reposado as well. I was hoping it was aged down a little bit, but it's got a really nice flavor profile except for that bitterness. So if you're somebody that likes the star anise, the fennel kind of flavor profile inside your tequila, you're going to love these. These will be great for you. But if you're somebody that's put off by those, avoid these. So how would I rate these personally based on my taste? I'd give them a solid 3 agave. They're okay. Not something I would drink just because I would have a hard time getting over the bitterness that's in them. But I still love to see the distillery. I could still talk to them about what they're doing on their processes, and maybe we could figure out a way to fix it so it's not so, doesn't have that bitterness in it. But there you go. If you liked the information I shared in this video, make sure you click the thumbs up and give me a like. If you're new to the channel and you like unbiased, honest reviews, well, you've come to the right place. Not only do you get that, you'll get some informational videos that will help you. So when you go to the liquor store, you don't make the mistake of buying tequilas that you don't like. Instead, you'll go in with power because knowledge is power. And the more powerful the consumers are, the better we can control actually what the liquor store stock. Because if you ask for it, you know what to look for, and that's what you're buying. That's what the liquor stores will stock. So if you're that way, then go ahead and click that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Right there, and the notification bell next to it, so you get notified every time I post a new review or informational video. And if you want to see a little bit about what I'm doing with wine and winemaking and some of the experimentation stuff that I'm doing, as far as making tequila goes and stuff like that, then make sure you check out the Hombre Cave channel. That's my side channel that I'm doing that kind of shows my lab and kind of shows some of the interesting things that I do on the side besides tequila stuff. And we're actually going to be doing some cigar pairings and stuff on there as well. And live stream. So make sure you check out the Hombre Cave. I'll put the link in the description as well for the Hombre Cave channel. And until next time, like I always say, life is too short to drink bad tequila. So personally, I would leave Cambio on the shelf. Salud. Bye, guys.